She was holding the hand of a little girl who had my husband's exact eyes. Behind her stood two boys, maybe 8 and 10 years old, both with his nose, his mouth, his everything. "Are you Minsuk's new wife?" she asked in perfect English, her voice shaking. I couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. Just stared at this woman on my doorstep in Seoul. 3 children clustered around her like protection, all of them looking at me with a mixture of curiosity and something that looked like pity. "I'm sorry to come here like this," she continued, tears already streaming down her face. "But I didn't know where else to go. I'm Hyejin, Minsuk's wife. His first wife. The one who's supposed to be dead." The little girl, maybe 5 years old, looked up at me with those eyes. My husband's eyes. "Are you our new mommy?" she asked in Korean. I gripped the door frame so hard my knuckles went white. My legs were shaking. My vision was tunneling. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. "My husband doesn't have children," I whispered. "His first wife died. Car accident. 6 years ago." He showed me the death certificate. The grave. Everything. Hyejin let out a broken laugh. "He showed you a grave? Let me guess. Namsan Cemetery, right? Beautiful headstone with my name on it." I nodded, unable to form words. "That grave is empty," she said. "I've been alive this whole time. Hiding. With our 3 children. Running from his family. From their business. From everything. But I can't run anymore. I need help. And you need to know the truth about the man you married." The older boy stepped forward. He was maybe 10, wearing a backpack that looked too heavy for his small frame. "Please, can we come inside? We've been traveling for 2 days. My sister is tired." I looked down at the little girl. She was swaying on her feet, eyes half closed, thumb in her mouth. She looked exhausted, terrified. Real. This was real. I stepped aside and let them in. And that's when my entire world started to collapse, piece by piece, lie by lie, until I discovered that the man I thought I knew was actually a stranger wearing my husband's face. A stranger who had buried his first family alive and built a new life on top of their graves. If you've ever felt like your whole life was a lie, hit that subscribe button right now because this story is about to get so much worse before it gets better. Drop a comment telling me what you would do if someone showed up at your door claiming to be your husband's dead wife. And if you've ever been lied to by someone you loved, hit that like button because you'll understand exactly how I felt in this moment. My name is Amara. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria, and 2 years ago I met Minsuk at an international medical conference in Singapore. I'm a nurse practitioner. He told me he was a pharmaceutical sales executive. We connected over late-night coffee, conversations about global health, dreams of making a difference. He was kind, gentle, thoughtful. He talked about his painful past with such raw honesty that I thought I was seeing his soul. His first wife had died in a car accident 6 years ago, he said. He'd been alone ever since, unable to move on, until he met me. "You brought light back into my life," he told me on our 3rd date, tears in his eyes. "I never thought I could love again after losing her. But you make me want to try." I fell hard. We got married 8 months later. I moved to Seoul, started working at an international hospital, learned Korean, built a life with this man I thought was a widower healing from tragedy. His family was cold but not hostile. His mother barely spoke to me. His father treated me like I was invisible. But Minsuk said it was because I reminded them of what they'd lost, that they'd loved his first wife so much they couldn't bear to see him with anyone new. "Give them time," he always said. "They'll come around." I gave them 2 years. 2 years of being the understanding wife, the patient daughter-in-law, the woman who accepted being second choice, second love, second everything because I understood grief. What a fool I was. Now this woman, this allegedly dead woman, was sitting on my couch with 3 children eating the snacks I'd given them like they hadn't eaten in days. The little girl had fallen asleep against her mother's shoulder. The 2 boys were watching me with identical expressions of wariness and hope. "Start from the beginning," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "Tell me everything." Hyejin looked at her sleeping daughter and stroked her hair with such tenderness it made my chest ache. "Minsuk and I got married when I was 22. He was 25. Love marriage, not arranged. His family didn't approve because I came from a poor family, but he fought for me. Or so I thought. She paused, gathering strength. We had our first son, June, within a year. Then Tay 2 years later. We were happy. I thought we were happy. But then I started noticing things. Strange phone calls. Men in expensive suits coming to our apartment. Money appearing that didn't match his salary. What kind of business is his family in? I asked, though part of me didn't want to know. On paper? Pharmaceuticals. Real estate. Import and export. She looked me dead in the eye. In reality? Money laundering. Drug trafficking. Human trafficking. The Choi family isn't just wealthy. They're criminal royalty. My stomach dropped. That's not possible. Min-suk works in pharmaceutical sales. I've met his colleagues. Been to his office. That's the front, she said quietly. The legitimate business that hides everything else. Did you ever wonder why his family has so much money? Why they live in that massive compound in Gangnam? Why everyone treats his father like some kind of king? I had wondered. But Min-suk always had explanations. Family inheritance. Smart investments. Korea's economic boom. When did you find out? I asked. When Suwa was born. She looked down at her sleeping daughter. Our third child. I had a difficult birth, needed emergency surgery. While I was in the hospital, Min-suk's phone kept ringing. He left it in my room by accident. I answered it. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. It was one of his father's associates. Talking about a shipment. Girls from Southeast Asia. Ages 14 to 18. Discussing where to store them until the buyers arrived. I felt bile rise in my throat. No, Min-suk wouldn't. I didn't want to believe it either, Hyejin said. So I investigated. Followed him one night when he said he had a late meeting. Watched him go to a warehouse in Incheon. Saw the girls being unloaded from a shipping container. Saw the men with guns. Saw everything. The older boy, June, spoke up. His voice was small but fierce. They tried to kill us. June, please, Hyejin started. No, Mom, she needs to know. He turned to me, eyes blazing with a rage too old for his young face. When my mom confronted our dad, he told his family. They said she knew too much. That she was a liability. They tried to make it look like an accident. Hyejin's hands were shaking now. The car accident that killed me? It was real. But I wasn't in the car. Min-suk's mother called me that morning, said she wanted to apologize, to talk. Asked me to meet her at a specific location. When I got there, she wasn't there. But I saw a car identical to mine, with a woman inside who looked like me from behind, being pushed off the road by a truck. Oh my God, I breathed. I ran. Took the children from school, emptied our secret savings account, and disappeared. I had a friend who helped me get new identities. We've been living in Busan under fake names for 6 years. I watched my own funeral on the news. Watched Min-suk cry at my grave. Watched him give touching interviews about losing the love of his life. Why didn't you go to the police? I asked. She laughed bitterly. Half the police force is on the Choi family payroll. I tried once, anonymously. The detective I spoke to? He was at Min-suk's father's house for dinner the next week. I saw the photo on social media. That's when I knew. We were completely alone. The middle boy, Tae, had been quiet until now. He looked at me with eyes full of sorrow. We've moved 12 times in 6 years. New schools every few months. No friends. No life. Always hiding. Always scared. Mom works 3 jobs just to keep us fed. Why come back now? I asked. Why take this risk? Hyejin pulled a phone from her purse and showed me a photo. Min-suk. With a woman. A pregnant woman. Not me. This was taken 3 weeks ago, she said. I have a friend who still lives in Seoul. She sent this to me. Your husband is having an affair. And the woman is pregnant. The world tilted. I grabbed the arm of the chair to steady myself. I started investigating, Hyejin continued. Called in favors. Asked questions. Found out about you. Found out that you're a good person. A nurse. Someone who helps people. Someone who doesn't know what she married into. She leaned forward, her intensity almost frightening. And I realized that if he could do this to you while you're married, if he could lie to you about having children, about me being dead, about everything, then what else is he capable of? And what happens when you find out the truth? What happens when you become a liability like I did? They'll kill you too, June said flatly. Just like they tried to kill us. I looked at these three children. At this woman who'd been living in hiding for 6 years. At the exhaustion and fear etched into all their faces. And something inside me shifted from shock to cold, calculated rage. Do you have proof? I asked. Of any of this? Hygiene's expression changed. Something like hope flickered across her face. I've been collecting evidence for 6 years. Every document I could find. Every photo. Every recording I made before I ran. Financial records showing the money laundering. Shipping manifests. Names of victims. Everything. Where is it? Safe deposit box in Busan. Under my fake name. I stood up and walked to my bedroom. Came back with my laptop. Opened it to my own folder. I've been collecting evidence too. Just for the past 6 months. I didn't know what it meant. Didn't know what I was looking at. But I knew something was wrong. I'd been documenting strange conversations. Weird financial discrepancies in Min Suk's accounts that I had access to. Photos of the men who visited the house. License plates. Dates. Times. I thought maybe he was having an affair. Thought I was gathering divorce evidence. It was so much worse than an affair. Hygiene looked at my screen and started crying. You documented the shipping schedule. Do you know what this is? This is proof of their trafficking routes. This is worth millions to the authorities. This could bring down the entire organization. Good, I said coldly. Because that's exactly what we're going to do. If you're watching this and thinking I should have just run, drop a comment and tell me what you would have done. Would you run? Or would you fight? Hit that like button if you believe in fighting back and subscribe because this story is about to become a full-on war. The little girl, Sua, woke up and looked at me with those eyes. My husband's eyes. Are you nice? She asked in Korean. I knelt down to her level. Yes, sweetheart. I'm nice. And I'm going to help you and your brothers and your mom. I promise. She smiled. It broke my heart. We spent the next 6 hours planning. Hygiene told me everything she knew. I showed her everything I documented. We cross-referenced dates, locations, transactions. The picture that emerged was horrifying. The Choi family ran one of the largest trafficking networks in East Asia. Girls from Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Philippines. Brought to Korea on fake work visas, then sold to wealthy men across Asia. The pharmaceutical business was real, but it was used to move drugs alongside legitimate medicine. The real estate holdings were used to hide money and house operations. And Min Suk? He wasn't just complicit. He was essential. The charming, educated face of the organization. The one who networked with legitimate businessmen and government officials. The one who made it all look respectable. He travels for work a lot, right? Hygiene asked. Yes. Medical conferences. Sales meetings. Sometimes for weeks at a time. He's not at conferences. He's overseeing shipments. Meeting buyers. Setting up new routes. Every business trip. Every late night. Every tender apology for missing dinner. All lies. All part of destroying lives while I slept peacefully in our bed, believing I was married to a good man. There's something else you need to know, Hygiene said quietly. About the pregnant woman. I'd almost forgotten. The affair seemed trivial compared to trafficking and attempted murder. She's not just his mistress, Hygiene continued. She's the daughter of their biggest client in Japan. Min Suk is supposed to marry her to cement the business alliance. He's already married. To me. Do you really think that matters to them? They faked my death. They can fake a divorce. Or they can just make you disappear too. The middle boy, Tae, spoke up again. Are you going to leave him? Yes, I said without hesitation. Are you going to help us stop them? June asked. Yes. Even though it's dangerous? Sua's small voice asked. I looked at these 3 children who'd been robbed of their childhood, their father, their entire lives. I looked at Hygiene, who'd been living in fear for 6 years. I thought about the girls in those shipping containers. The victims I'd unknowingly helped legitimize by being Min Suk's respectable wife. Especially because it's dangerous, I said. Because if we don't stop them, they'll keep destroying lives. And I can't live with that. We worked until 3 in the morning, creating a plan, contacting people Hygiene trusted, people who'd been waiting years for enough evidence to move against the Choi family. There was an international task force, she told me. Interpol had been investigating, but could never get enough proof. The Choi's were too careful, too connected, too powerful. But now, with Hygiene's 6 years of evidence and my recent documentation, we had enough. There's one more thing we need, Hygiene said. We need Min-suk to incriminate himself on record. A confession that can't be denied. How? She looked at me steadily. You have to confront him. Wearing a wire. Get him to admit everything. He'll never confess to me. He will if he thinks you already know everything. If he thinks you're a threat. Men like Min-suk, they can't help themselves. They need to explain. To justify. To make you understand why they had no choice. My phone buzzed. A text from Min-suk. Landing in 2 hours. Can't wait to see you. I love you. I showed the message to Hygiene. She read it and shook her head. He has no idea what's waiting for him. I looked at the 3 children now sleeping on my couch. At Hygiene, who'd risked everything to warn me. At the evidence spread across my dining table that could save countless lives. No, I agreed. He has no idea. The next 2 hours were a blur. Hygiene and the children couldn't stay at my apartment. Too dangerous if Min-suk came home. I called a friend from the hospital, someone I trusted completely. She didn't ask questions, just came and picked them up, promised to keep them safe. Before she left, Hygiene hugged me. I'm sorry for bringing this to your door. I'm sorry your life is about to explode. Don't be sorry, I said. You saved my life. You just don't know it yet. The International Task Force contact, a Korean-American FBI agent named Sarah Kim, arrived at dawn. She'd been working the Choi case for 3 years. When I showed her what we had, she actually cried. This is it, she kept saying. This is finally it. We can get warrants. We can move. We can save those girls. She wired me up. Tiny microphone hidden in my necklace. Backup recording device in my watch. Both transmitted to a van parked 3 blocks away where a full team was waiting. If at any point you feel unsafe, say the word hospital, Sarah instructed. We'll come in immediately. Don't be a hero. Just get him talking. Min-suk's text came through. Home in 30 minutes. Should I pick up breakfast? I texted back, no need. I made your favorite. We need to talk. I set the table. Made coffee. Put out the breakfast I'd prepared with shaking hands. Waited. When his key turned in the lock, my heart was pounding so hard I thought the wire would pick it up. Honey, I'm home. His cheerful voice. The same voice that had whispered, I love you, 1,000 times. The same voice that had cried at his fake wife's funeral. He walked into the kitchen and kissed me. I didn't pull away. Not yet. You said we need to talk, he asked, sitting down. Is everything okay? I had an interesting visitor yesterday, I said calmly. A woman with 3 children. His face didn't change. But his hand, reaching for his coffee cup, paused for just a fraction of a second. Oh? Who? She said her name was Hygiene. She said she was your dead wife. She said those 3 children were yours. The coffee cup shattered. Hot liquid spread across the table. Min-suk stared at me, all color draining from his face. That's impossible, he whispered. That's what I thought too. But then I saw the children. June has your nose. Tae has your mouth. And little Sua has your exact eyes. Your exact eyes, Min-suk. He stood up abruptly. This is insane. Hygiene is dead. I buried her. You've seen her grave. I've seen an empty grave with her name on it, I corrected. She told me everything. About your family's business. About what she discovered. About how your mother tried to have her killed. She's lying. His voice was rising now. Panicked. She's clearly unstable. She probably saw our wedding announcement, became obsessed, is making up. She has documents, Min-suk. Financial records. Shipping manifests. Photos of you at warehouses I know you've never mentioned. She has 6 years of evidence. He sank back into his chair. His hands were shaking. And I have 6 months of my own documentation, I continued. All those business trips you took? I documented every date, every location, every wire transfer. I thought you were having an affair. I had no idea I was actually documenting human trafficking. Amara, please. Is it true? I asked. The trafficking? The girls in containers? Is it true? He looked at me for a long moment. And then something in his expression changed. The panic faded. Something colder, harder took its place. You have to understand, he said quietly. I never wanted this life. I was born into it. My father, my grandfather, it's all I've ever known. Oh God. He was going to confess. He was actually going to confess. When I met you, I wanted to be different, he continued. I wanted to be the man you thought I was. Good. Honest. Clean. But you can't just walk away from a family like mine. You could have, I said. You could have told me the truth. We could have run together, like Hygiene did. He laughed bitterly. Hygiene ran with my children. She turned them against me. Made me look like a monster to my own kids. Do you know what that did to me? You're a monster, I said. You traffic human beings. Young girls. Children. I facilitate business transactions, he corrected. I don't personally. You're complicit in every single crime. Every girl who suffers, you helped make that happen. He stood up and started pacing. You don't understand how the world works. These girls, they're coming to Korea anyway. If not through us, through someone worse. At least we ensure they're treated relatively well, placed with buyers who can afford to be gentle. I wanted to vomit. Listen to yourself. You're trying to justify slavery. I'm explaining reality. He slammed his hand on the table. And now you know. So, what are you going to do? Run away like Hygiene? Take this evidence to the police who work for my father? Expose us to authorities who've been taking our money for 20 years? Maybe, I said. He laughed. You think you're the first to try? My first wife thought she could expose us too. Look how that worked out for her. She's alive, Min-suk. For now, he said coldly. But she made contact. She came out of hiding. That was her mistake. By tonight, my father's people will track where she went after visiting you. And this time, there won't be any need for staged car accidents. She'll simply disappear. Along with my children. The rage that flooded through me was unlike anything I'd ever felt. You would kill your own children? They're not my children anymore. She poisoned them against me. Turned them into witnesses against their own family. Their liabilities. And me? I asked. Am I a liability too? He looked at me with something that might have been regret. You were supposed to be different. Clean. Separate from all of this. A normal life I could come home to. But you had to start digging. Had to document things. Had to let Hygiene in. He walked closer to me. I forced myself not to back away. I do love you, you know, he said softly. In my way. But love doesn't change what has to happen now. Which is what? You're going to disappear. Tragic accident. Maybe you'll fall from our balcony. Suicide, the police will say. Depression about not being able to have children. Such a sad story. My hand went to my necklace. The word hospital was on my lips. But then he said something that made me pause. Unless, he continued, you choose to be smart. Destroy the evidence. Convince Hygiene to run again. Never speak of this. Stay married to me. Live the comfortable life. Look the other way. Many wives do. How many wives do you have exactly? I asked. Hygiene said you're supposed to marry some Japanese woman. He had the decency to look embarrassed. That's business. So I'd be wife number 3. Except Hygiene isn't actually dead, so technically wife number 2. Do I get a number? Should I introduce myself as wife number 2 or number 3? Don't be childish. Don't be a criminal. I shouted. Don't traffic human beings. Don't fake your wife's death. Don't threaten to kill your own children. Don't stand there and tell me you love me while planning my murder. I'm giving you a choice, he shouted back. Most people don't get that. Hygiene didn't get a choice. She just ran, took my children, destroyed my life. She destroyed your life? You destroy hundreds of lives every year. They're not real to me. He was fully yelling now. Those girls, those transactions, that's just business. Numbers on a page. But you were real. You were mine. And you ruined it by being exactly like her, by digging where you shouldn't, by caring about things that don't concern you. There it was. Full confession. Every word recorded. I looked at my husband. This stranger wearing a familiar face. "I need to use the hospital," I said clearly. He frowned. "What?" The door crashed open. FBI. Hands where I can see them. 8 agents flooded into my apartment. Minsuk spun around, reaching for something in his jacket. 2 agents tackled him before he could pull it out. A gun. He'd had a gun the entire time we were talking. Sarah Kim pulled the wire from my necklace and squeezed my shoulder. "You did amazing." We got every word. Minsuk was screaming from the floor, hands being cuffed behind his back. "You betrayed me. After everything I gave you. You betrayed your own husband." "You're not my husband," I said coldly. "You're a monster who fooled me into thinking he was human. But at least I'm not the only one you fooled. Your father trusted you to keep things quiet. Your organization trusted you not to confess. Guess we were all wrong about you." They dragged him away, still screaming. The apartment fell silent except for my ragged breathing. Sarah came back and handed me water. "We have teams moving on the entire organization right now. Your evidence plus Minsuk's confession gave us everything we needed for warrants. The Choi compound is being raided as we speak." "The girls?" I asked. "The ones in the containers? We intercepted a shipment 2 hours ago based on your documented schedule. 37 girls. Ages 13 to 19. They're safe now." I started crying then. "Great," heaving sobs. "Hygiene and the children?" I managed to ask. "In protective custody. They'll testify, but they'll be safe. We've been planning witness protection for them for years. Now we can finally do it." Over the next 3 weeks, the Choi empire collapsed. Minsuk's father, mother, 3 uncles, and 7 associates were arrested. Over 200 victims were rescued from various locations. The financial network was seized. Assets worth billions were frozen. I testified at every hearing. So did Hygiene. Her 6 years of evidence combined with my 6 months of documentation and Minsuk's recorded confession created an airtight case. Minsuk got 45 years. His father got life. The entire organization was dismantled. I divorced him, obviously. The marriage was annulled actually, since his first marriage to Hygiene was never legally dissolved. Which meant I'd never actually been married to him at all. Somehow that felt appropriate. Hygiene and I became unlikely friends. She and the children moved to Australia through witness protection, started completely fresh lives under new identities. Before they left, she hugged me at the airport. "Thank you for believing me," she said. "Thank you for being brave." "Thank you for warning me," I replied. "You saved my life." Little Sua tugged on my sleeve. "Will we ever see you again?" I knelt down. "Maybe someday, when it's safe. But no matter what, I'll never forget you. You were the bravest little girl I ever met." She hugged me tight. So did both boys. These children I'd known for less than a day had changed my entire life. I left Korea 3 months later. Went back to Nigeria first, stayed with my family while I figured out my next move. Eventually took a job with an international anti-trafficking organization. Used my nursing skills and my unique experience to help rescue and rehabilitate victims. Turns out surviving a nightmare makes you pretty good at helping others survive theirs. I never married again. Maybe I will someday. But right now, I'm focused on the work. On making sure other women don't end up married to monsters. On making sure other children don't grow up running and hiding from their own families. Every girl we rescue, I think of those 37 pulled from that container. I think of Hygiene running with 3 small children. I think of Sua's question, "Are you nice?" And I try to be. Every single day. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and join me in fighting back against injustice. Drop a comment telling me about a time you had to be brave when you were terrified. And smash that like button if you believe that sometimes the scariest thing you can do is the right thing. The woman who showed up at my door with 3 children destroyed my marriage, but saved my life. She thought she was asking for help, but she ended up giving me the greatest gift anyone could give me. The truth. And the chance to use that truth to save lives. Sometimes the dead come back to life. Sometimes the truth appears on your doorstep holding the hands of 3 children with your husband's eyes. And sometimes the only way forward is to burn down everything you thought you knew and build something new from the ashes. Never stop believing women. Never stop fighting for justice. And never, ever ignore the truth when it shows up at your door, no matter how much it costs you to let it in. The life you save might be your own,